Hi, I'm Dr. Annie Clark. I'm the CEO of the Pennsylvania Coalition of Public Charter Schools, and I'm joined tonight by a group of individuals from across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, including parents, of course. All of us are parents, and some of us are grandparents, educators, and just advocates for our community. So I'm so excited that everyone is here. We're just going to go straight down through. We're going to start with introducing ourselves and just saying, are we a parent, grandparent? What's our role in the education community? So if we can start with Sharon Sedler, if you could start by introducing yourself.
Hi, Annie. Hi, everyone. My name is Sharon Sedler. I live in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I am a parent, and I am also an education choice advocate with Pennsylvania Families for Education Choice. So thanks for having me.
Sharon, thanks for being here. And if we could just drop right to Colleen for your introduction.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Colleen Freyvogal. I am the parent of a child who attends a charter school, and I'm also in education working at a charter school myself.
Oh, thank you. Shakeena, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, yes, I'm Shakeena Hardrick. I'm a parent of a student that goes to a charter school. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I also work within the charter schools as a TSS worker and an educator.
Oh, thank you for being here. Tom, can you jump in and do your introduction? Well, we might have lost Tom. So Cliff, we're going to jump right to you and then Tom will come back in.
Yeah, sure. My name is Cliff Jurkiewicz. I'm the father of two beautiful children, one of whom is a student at a charter school. I'm from Pottstown, Pennsylvania, but my son goes to Renaissance Academy in Phoenixville.
Wow, that is great. That is awesome. Well, thank you all for being here. And Tom, are you back on yet? Okay, and we also have Tammy joining us here as well. She's listening in and she said she has two grandsons, both who attend CCS in Exton, which is great. So we're glad that you're here too, Tammy. So our first question is to really explain your why for voting, not so much who you're voting for, but why do you think voting is so important? And Cliff, we're just going to jump right to you. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's great. Thank you. I would say, this is how our voice as parents are heard. The biggest issue and the reason that I choose to vote and vote for, school choice is because I want the best opportunity for my children to learn, and they can't vote themselves, at least not yet. And so we are their representative and have to have their best interest in mind. And this is how we are heard. And that's the reason that I continue to vote for choice.
Thank you so much, Cliff. And Shakeena, will you jump in and tell us a little bit about why you're voting?
Yes, I'm voting because I believe in education. I'm a young lady who was able to benefit from the George Bush administration when he passed No Child Left Behind, and charter schools had just started coming about. Me being a young lady from North Philadelphia, and impoverished areas, low income, where you don't see too much of quality education. So me being able to benefit from that and just seeing how it elevated my life, and now me being a mom myself, I have an 8-year-old. He's in a charter school. He goes to John Worcester. He's in an honors program there. And just seeing the change in him coming from just regular public school, and then coming into charter and just seeing so how much he has grown, and just in his mental, his spirit, everything. So, and I believe in the power of just voting, like having your voice heard and advocating for your children.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that and telling us a little bit about your family and your story. We have Thomas back here. So Thomas, if you could go ahead and introduce yourself and then just go right into your why about voting.
Yes. name's Tom Hassinger. I have a senior in CCA, and my reason for voting is just for school choice, to give the parents power to send their kids wherever, like for cyber school for my daughter case. She's thrived well since taking her out of the brick and mortar environment, because she has a IEP with her. So the cyber school and the cyber environment was able to really help her to develop her talents, and that she's able to go on field trips and different opportunities.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Tammy, would you like to jump in and introduce yourself and tell us your why for voting?
Sure. My daughter had passed away 2 years ago. She's the one that was in the picture up on the screen.
Oh,
And so my husband and I are raising her 2 boys, and they attend the Collegium Charter.
thank you so much.
Excuse me, sorry.
That's okay.
And so they both have IEPs and some behavioral issues, and they're going through counseling and this and that and all kinds of stuff. So they both have ADHD. And so I strongly believe that, at least in the school district that I'm in, the schools are not structured or capable of equipped to handle IEPs as well as Collegium Charter. Collegium Charter is just excellent with with the special teachers, special ed teachers, and trained teachers in those areas. So it's really, really, really important to me to have that school choice, and for the and all my kids went to public school in the school district that I'm in.
Right.
So I have something to compare it to. I have the comparison. And and also the academics is so much stronger at Collegium Charter School. Also, starting through kindergarten with what they get with the language, they get the language right away, and they get the activities like the STEM and all that stuff right away.
Yeah.
I don't know, just the academics is so much stronger. So anyway, and then I also think that the funding is so important, that they get the funding for these charter schools approved, and they get all that extra funding that they need and deserve as well. So.
Yeah, for the special ed students. We appreciate that, Tammy. Thank you for being here. Sharon, can you
Sure.
tell us a little bit about your why for voting?
Well, first of all, so I have 6 daughters, and they're aged 12 to 23. So 3 of them are adults and would never, ever let me live it down if I didn't, right? So
Right.
part of it has to deal with that, right? So we're all going to go vote together. And, I want to be part of the solution. So when you vote and you research your candidates and you get a feel for what their positions are, you're better equipped, whether you're voted for a candidate wins or loses, to be able to advocate for what you still believe in, because you know what their perspectives are. And so that's why I vote. I want them to be held accountable for their actions. I want to know what their intentions are. And I want to be part of the solution.
I love that. Thank
That's
you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Thank you. Colleen, what is your why for voting?
Sure. So having a voice as a voter has always been important to me, but now that I'm a parent and also an educator, it's even closer to my heart. As one of the panelists said, this is one way, by voting, this is one way we can get our voices heard on the things that we believe in. I think that even though we don't want to think that politics play a big role in education, it really does. And educational funding is determined by our politicians. So for me, voting is a way that can help us as parents and educators get those in office that believe in what we believe in. I think that, not just my child, but every child in the Commonwealth should have equity and equality, and geographical location matters, funding matters, and school choice matters. So that's one of the many reasons I'll be voting.
Oh, thank you so much. I, like you guys, had 4 children, and 3 of the 4 did come through charter schools. And now I have 7 grandchildren, and 4 of the 7 have come through charter schools. And so I believe in charter schools. I believe in school choice. I believe that, every school is different and every child is different, and, you need that. And so it's not just that I believe in charter, which I do, but I believe in school choice. And that's one of the reasons that I vote myself, is because I want our legislators to put that as a priority, to put education as a priority. And when we're voting for education and voting for people who support school choice, we support, the entire state. We're going to move on to your own beliefs on how do you think that voting affects school choice, like in the bigger ideal of education. How does your vote, and who do you vote for, not necessarily who you're going to vote for, but who you vote for applies to school choice. So if we're going to just go ahead and jump right to Cliff, if that's okay, and then I'm just going to work my way down the screen.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, for me, when if you look at what happened through the pandemic and afterwards, I think 2021, that school year, about 7 or 8% of charters, or 7 to 8% of public school children were moved to charter schools. I think that's what the last statistics I saw, and that was the largest movement from public to charter in a single year in the history that we've been recording this. That says that what we're doing is starting to take hold. People are starting to listen. I think one of the reasons why it's so important for me to be active in this is public schools are represented, and this isn't a political statement, but it is political action, represented by the AFT, American Federation of Teachers, right? So the challenge that I have with that is their convention, and they just had one in July, and every year you can go back to every single one that they've ever had. Not a single session is about educating children. Not a single session. It's about activism. It's about what they want as a union. It's about where the funding needs to go. And our tax dollars are going to fund teachers' union dues in some way, shape, or form. So why shouldn't I, as a parent, have an equal voice in this argument as to where my sons will be educated, and my one son is being educated? The district that I live in, and God bless them, they try to do a really good job, but they are ill-equipped. And why should my child suffer because our school board is inadequate in addressing the needs of the community? And I can't wait. My son is not an experiment, as your children are not experiments, to figure out when they get it right and how they get it right. He and his youngest son, my youngest son is turning 4, so he's not ready for school yet. But when he does, he's grandfathered in at Renaissance, and that's where he's going to be going, because they have proven over time a track record. I think 20 years of they're in the top 10 charter schools in the state of Pennsylvania, just so well run. Why can't I have the opportunity to send my child to where I believe, as a parent, they're going to have the best opportunity for education and be very well supported? So, when I think about all of the things that are stacked against parents, politicians, unions, the infrastructure of public school, and of course the federal oversight of all of it, this is the only mechanism we really have to exercise, and we need to be loud and strong for the benefit of our children. So I know there's a little bit of a soapbox, but I'm very passionate about this. And as I said, I'm on vacation today, and you reached out, or, the Dr. Booley, the principal at Renaissance, reached out yesterday and said, anybody want to talk? And I said, I'll take time, because this is so important.
Yes, it is so important, and it's going to help other parents hopefully decide that they want to vote, that it's important. Sharon, let me just jump to you, and let me ask you, if you were not voting tomorrow, how do you think that would be affecting school choice?
Oh, wow. So, not voting for someone you do believe in, or who believes in the issues the same way that you do, is just giving that vote to someone else to make for you. Or it's a vote you don't cancel out on the other side. And it's important, it's critical that we make our voices heard and known. This is about our children. It doesn't matter, in my opinion, whether you choose private or public or district or charter or cyber charter, homeschool, microschool, pod, whatever suits your family and your child, with that child in the center of that conversation, is what's most important. So when you don't vote, you're not voting for those candidates that put that child first, just like you do. And our politicians, they need our support. They hear us, they know what we're saying, they hear the cheers, they hear the jeers, and they do care. If we don't let them know that they'll be held accountable for their actions when they're in office, if we don't hold them to those promises, if we don't make our vote known, we're just throwing away our opportunity to improve our child's education.
Absolutely. Thank you. That was great. I love that insight. Colleen, can you answer either, like, why do you think it's so pivotal to vote, or again, what happens when you don't vote, when any of our parents don't exercise that right to vote?
Sure. And I think this sentiment has been shared already, but if parents don't exercise their right to vote, it can really have a negative impact on school choice. So for me, it isn't about if someone's voting Republican or someone's voting Democrat. This is about children, not just my son, not just my neighbor's kids. This is about all children. Right. So, again, having our voices heard is so important. It's also important for us to, be a part of a larger discussion, because there's a lot of information out there, especially during election season, that isn't quite right. When we're, talking about the other candidates, sometimes statistics are skewed. Discussions on funding and how funding is used for charter schools is not correct. So by not getting our hat in the ring and not going to exercise our right to vote, we're allowing some of that misinformation to continue. And that's something that we don't want if we want charter schools and any kind of school choice to continue.
Yeah, I really appreciate that, Colleen. I think that's one of the important things about the narrative, is that all of us are responsible for what's being said about school choice. And we can't allow that conversation to be, someone else's job to do. And that's one of my passions about parents, is that before I was an educator, before I was a principal, before I was a school leader, before I was in this job, I was a parent. And I was that parent who was looking for the best opportunities for my students. And each one of them was different, and each one of them needed something different. So this is always going to be a passion. And when we go and speak to our legislators, the voice they want to hear is the parent voice or the student voice. They're more interested in that voice than any voice, as they should be. So that's great. Tammy, how do you feel about voting tomorrow, and what would happen in your area if you didn't get out to vote?
I just think that there's a direct link between voting and the outcome of school choice, being there, or, ultimately not being there, maybe someday. It's just critical. And So that's why I vote, and I encourage all to vote who care about our children's education. So, I mean, that's why I vote, and I just think it's critical. And I think that, you know, I just think it's critical.
Thank
It's a
you.
direct link.
Thank you, Tammy, so much.
Mhm.
Shakeena, I'd like to ask you a little bit different question. It's still along those lines, but what would it mean? I think Tammy said something really good, that if we don't vote, it could be the end of charter schools or the end of school choice. What would that mean to you or to your student, Shakeena, if their charter school wasn't there any longer?
It would mean they would succumb to their surroundings. We live in Philadelphia, and it's rough here. It would mean, let me try. It would mean that
I'm
these
sorry.
kids, it would take everything from them. It would be no hope left. I think school, for a lot of them, is the only place where they really feel a part, or they feel like they're heard or somebody cares. For a lot of them, school is everything.
Right.
And to be able to be in a school that you have faculty and staff that support you on top of a quality education, I think that makes for a very productive person. Like I said, I've been on both sides of it. I've grown up in North Philly. All my life, I went to public school. I was able to have the opportunity to go to charter school around about 5th or 6th grade. And from there, I just went to charter school, then on until I graduated high school. And it just created a lot of opportunities for me, as well as for these kids. Like my son, he just transferred out of public school during COVID, backpacking on what Clip said earlier, that big transition from public to charter school. And like I said, he's grown so much. He's in an honors program now. He's studying robotics. He's just really just elevating, and it has opened up his mind to just a different world, something that I don't think he would have had in public school. So it would mean no hope for these kids. So it's very important that they have that choice.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That was really meaningful. Thank you for that. Thomas, what would it mean if your children didn't have their charter school?
Oh my. I honestly, I think I went to school. My kids went to the same school as my wife and I did, but I think our home district's brick and mortar is just kind of messed up, and my daughter needs that stability into like the same. She doesn't do well like switching without any, from teacher to teacher, or times, or without any proper notification, which happened a lot in her elementary days in the school. So when she had a middle school, we went to cyber school. And I think if we don't vote, or if we had that choice taken away, I think a lot of our kids with the IEPs and the special needs, I think would be really left out of the circle, so to speak, and be left behind, and be, I think, really behind in being educated and taught, and what they need to succeed in the school system and outside after school.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that, and thank you for sharing about your daughter. so many children, it is their hope. I mean, education all by itself is hope. That's the one thing you can't take from somebody. And I always say that to my students, right? Once you learn something, it's yours forever. No one can take it from you, what you have in your mind. And I know my charter school that I was at for 20 years was a conversion school. It was the first charter school that took over a public school building. And that was a big deal. I mean, we were in court battles for 7 years. But it did bring hope. And it wasn't just that it improved our school, it improved all the schools around us. Because, competition is good. If you have someone to compete with, it's good. If you're a competitive person and you had someone that was your friend or, and you're able to compete with them, normally both people do better. Because, and that's the same thing that happens in school choice. It's not just that charter schools do better, it's that the schools around them also continue to do better. And so I think more choice is always good. And I think it's directly tied to economic development. And so whenever I see kids who come through really high achieving charter schools, the likelihood is that they will be able to do lots of different things. It's not just that they're academically stronger. They're more creative. They're more like entrepreneurs. They're more risk taking because that's what they've been taught to do. And even that's true of the educators. In charter schools, the teachers are taught to think differently, to perform differently, to expect differently. So all of that, goes into education. We're going to go into the last question. Then I'm going to share some things that came from the National Alliance. They interviewed 5,000 parents across the United States. And so I'll tell you some of the information that came out of that. I would like to have your final thoughts about the educational system and what we could do to improve it. So not just what's going on in our charters, but when you look at Pennsylvania right now, Pennsylvania has a C rating from our parents across the state. And that really makes me sad because I want Pennsylvania to be #1 in education. So what's something that you think could help improve education in Pennsylvania? And it can be whatever thoughts that you have. So I'm going to start with you, Sharon, and then we'll come back down and around. Sharon, can you give me your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, well, we all know that recent studies indicate that upwards of 80% of the citizenry believes in education choice, in school choice. And we also know that Pennsylvania are we 7th or 8th? I think we're 8th now. We slipped 1 point in terms of education funding. We are one of the highest funded per student states in the United States. And what do we have to show for it? We can do so much better. Again, you focus on the kid, you put the children in the center of the equation, and you build out from them. It's no more top down. It's not, you're gonna take what we give you and you're gonna like it. These kids need an out. And it can be because of safety. It can be because of values. It can be vocational, academic, special education. I have a daughter who has severe anxiety. She needs to have a certain environment to excel. There are a lot of reasons why children need opportunities in education. And it doesn't have to be a death match between the different educational models. We can all cooperate and collaborate to make it the best it can be for those children so that it can suit everyone. Yes, fine. Let's work on the funding model for district schools. Let's work on the funding model or how the system is set up in terms of charter schools, cyber schools. Let's give some of the funding to these homeschoolers who are footing the bill for education for their children. There's a reason why these parents need an option for their children. And so let's support them. It's not their fault that they're not being served adequately by the system in place or their current educational model. They shouldn't be penalized for needing more for their kids. So I think just cooperation, collaboration, appropriate funding I think it'll go a really long way in making it better for all of the kids in Pennsylvania. We have enough money to do it. If we can just put all the pettiness aside and work together for them, we can achieve great things.
Thank you, Sharon. Colleen, can you give us your thoughts?
Sure. I have so many thoughts, so I'm trying to focus on what I think is most important. Funding is a super important thing. It's certainly, I always kind of say, follow the money. And in this case, I really believe the money needs to follow the child. It doesn't matter where they're learning. They need money to be able to learn. I think teachers are amazing individuals who dedicate their lives to kids. I don't think that anybody gets into education thinking, I'm going to work in an environment that's going to stifle the learning of children. That's not really what any teacher or any administrator wants. I think in Pennsylvania, we have really high standards and expectations for our students and our teachers, and that's great. And we need to continue that. But we need to make sure that our policymakers understand the needs of all of our students in the Commonwealth, not just some of our students. And I think that it's important for our policymakers to kind of step out of their own experience or their children's experience and think about everyone's children. My son excels in a charter school environment, and it doesn't mean that our home district is not doing a good job. Lots of kids can learn there. Lots of kids are learning there, and they're doing wonderful things when they graduate. That's just not the story for my child. And I also get to work at a charter school who has thousands of students. They come to us for many, many reasons. Some are athletes, some have anxiety, some have babies, some have, older siblings that have gone to cyber school. Kids come to us for all kinds of reasons. And if we aren't part of the political movement that's talking about school choice, then thousands upon thousands of students aren't going to have that opportunity. And that breaks my heart. Every kid should be able to learn in an environment that's safe and structured and exciting so that our kids can, do wonderful things when they grow up.
Sorry, Cliff, can you jump in and give us your thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So I'm with Colleen. I have more thoughts than time. And I can appreciate what Colleen said, that she's in a district that, is probably performing, better than some, maybe better than most. Unfortunately, that is not, I think, a lot of people's experience. I personally went to Shakeena, I grew up in North Philly. I grew up in Kensington. I had a choice in high school. I was lucky. We didn't have charter schools back then, but there was a magnet school, a performing arts school. I was talented enough, I was able to go to the performing arts school and not go to the local neighborhood high school, which would have radically changed the outcome of my life had I not gone to that performing arts school. And this is what we're talking about. I don't want any. And Colleen, I could not agree with you more and what has been said here. I don't want my public school district to continue to fail. I just can't wait as a parent for them to get their act together. But in the meantime, I agree with what's been said here that by allowing charter schools to be established within the community and allowing that choice, competition is a good thing, and it will raise the bar across the spectrum. My day job is as a strategist for a company that builds recruiting software. And I can tell you the numbers are shockingly bad. The exodus of public school teachers from the system moving out because of the way that they're being treated. So this is not a rail against public school teachers. In fact, I think charter schools do a really great job of showing benefit to the teaching profession. At Renaissance Academy, one of the things that we loved about it is that they've created a culture there. And the question on the table is, what can we do better? What we want to see change across the spectrum? And I think that is one of the things, like we have a stated mission at Renaissance Academy, and that mission is really, to take a cross section of students and create success for them as scholars, workers, and be better citizens while providing a world-class education and education in the liberal arts and in other sciences. The stated mission is the goal that us as parents, this is what we believe in. And if every school had a stated mission and created a culture around that, I think we would, as parents, would be able to establish, what are the benefits of that particular school, and having the choice to be able to say, no, I actually agree with what my parents gave me the opportunity to do when I lived in Kensington. I didn't have to go to MassBom. I had the ability to go to creative and performing arts, and I was very lucky to be able to do that. Not everyone gets that chance, and the question is why? Why can't everyone have that opportunity to make the best decision for their children and even the children as they get older, for themselves, for what they want to do in life? So we're talking about the foundation of who a child is going to be as they develop their education, their wants, their needs, their interests, their skills. Where is it going to take them in life? And if we don't give them the best opportunity and the choice to have that great opportunity, you're potentially limiting their entire future. And this isn't fear mongering or anything like that. This is really like, what is best for providing that opportunity? But yeah, I would love to see public schools do a better job. And I think charter schools are actually a way to make that happen.
Good points, Cliff, for sure. Shakeena, would you like to jump in and tell us, how do you think that we could improve the educational system in Pennsylvania?
I think one way we can do that is kind of create a direct correlation between parents and just getting them involved in school, because it's no secret that children are more successful when their parents are involved in their academics and involved in what it is, that their kids want to do, and they support them. So I think that's one way. Also, bringing back recreational opportunities, after school programs, home economics, things like that. Because every kid might not be a scholar, but a lot of them are good at trades and things like that. So just basically figuring out a way to create opportunities for every child within education. I think that's the best route to go. And like I said, definitely creating that bridge between parents and school administration to have that village, because it takes a village to raise kids. And I know my parents were involved in my schooling and everything that went on with me growing up, and it made me a better person. And me being involved with my son, even being here today, I've never done anything like this before or spoke on a panel or anything like this, but I know that I'm advocating for him, I'm supporting him, and not just him, every child that deserves this opportunity, because all of them deserve a chance at quality education, I think.
Absolutely. But you did a wonderful job, and your children would be very proud of you today. You did great. Thomas, would you like to share your thoughts about how we could improve the educational system in Pennsylvania?
Yes. I think we need to prove it. I think, like she said, I think we and other people said that we need to bring back like the trades, like the home economics and shop classes. I know last few years in our home district, they've cut the teachers of some of the trade programs into brick and mortar schools, which caused some kids to go either to charter schools or even go to VOTEC schools. So I think it's not a lot has to do with like have the competition, like the other panelists have said, and just instead of like spreading the misinformation, because I know we have a good superintendent in a neighboring district that just likes to bash aside the charter system, and it's just it's just not right. It's just a lot of misinformation that's being put out there. So I think if by voting and by doing the right thing, and we could just provide the best education for our kids and what works and have the kids thrive in whatever situation or circumstance that they are best equipped to be in. I think it comes out better for everybody involved.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. It's better for all of our students. Tammy, can you give us your thoughts about how we could improve the educational system in Pennsylvania?
Yeah, involving the parents more, offering information sessions and their involvement in decision making, and more rounded programs offered for all the students, as everybody's saying, like recreational and even in the curriculum, just opportunities for everybody. But oftentimes those are the ones that do kind of get cut initially at first, if the funding's low. And just you know, being very open and communicating with the parents and involving them and encouraging them to come to school board meetings and just getting involved and starting, you know, with the teachers and getting involved in the classrooms and as parent helpers or whatever, just across the board is really good for the students. So
thank you so much, Tammy, and I want to thank all of you for being here and participating and giving us your thoughts, you know, the night before election. And you know, as the coalition, you know, our job is there's 184 charter schools in Pennsylvania, 170,000 children. I love telling that to kids when I go to see them, because it really is amazing how far charter schools have come. This is year 25 in Pennsylvania for charter schools. So, I mean, these conversations we had tonight, we need to have these more often on more subjects, because there's nothing more critical than the parent voice. I mean, it really is true. It was true 25 years ago when I stepped into Lincoln, and it's still true. And it's still my favorite conversation to have. This time in the legislation, they have put the coalition. There are some state conversations going on, or one around trying to remove some regulations around education, because it's really over-regulated, not just for charter schools, but for everybody. And also, there's a large conversation going on around teacher retention. So as of 10 years ago, 12,000 teachers applied for certification, and last year it was less than 5,000. So this teacher shortage situation is real, and we really need there's going to be lots of pipelines into schools. And so hopefully that will help diversify our schools. We can get parents to come in who, you know, maybe weren't teachers, who want to be teachers, or people who, you know, maybe didn't have that career, but would love to have that career. And so hopefully there'll be some pipelines into education soon, because really, parents do really make great teachers. They really do. And they really understand what it's like for, you know, what they want for their own child. And then they give that to other people's children. So this was a great conversation. I want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule. I'm going to go ahead and upload this to Facebook right away. And then I'll tag all of you in it. So thank you for being here, and I'll look forward to seeing you all again.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dr. Clark.